Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to try something a little bit different, where I'm just going to talk while I play, but I'm going to talk more about something that's isn't super related to the gameplay. So I am actually playing a game on my channel account in the background right now, but the topic I'm going to talk about, and I have notes on my other screen if you wonder where I look over, is just why I think you guys can't climb, what the biggest things are that typically hold people back. And some of the things I think can go a really long way despite relatively little effort or something put into them. So I'm kind of seeing this as a video that you can more or less, just watch in the background if you want. You can listen. Obviously, you can watch me destroy this Oriana as Cassia if you like. But yeah, we're mostly just going to talk about that. So I think probably the biggest reason overall that I see people don't climb is they make the game too hard for themselves. There's a couple things I guess I want to say about that. First off, when you're below, Master Tier or so, the game is largely about playing against yourself rather than playing against your opponent. And that's just because, you shoot yourself in the foot so often that, it almost doesn't matter, what your opponent is doing. Because, you're just, like I said, you're making so many, unforced errors that it just, puts you in a really, really bad position. And a good example would be, you can worry a lot about all these kind of player-to-player interactions, punishing cooldowns and, all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, it's not that important if you just give up a wave randomly by roaming at a wrong time, right? That's kind of what I mean by playing against yourself. It's not your opponent that forced you into that. That's just, a choice you decided to make. And I guess, continuing the whole thing of, making the game too difficult for yourself, I think League as a whole is a lot simpler than a lot of you guys think. The game is not easy, right? Simple does not necessarily mean easy. League of Legends is really, really hard, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot simpler than you think. And I think the way the game kind of works right now is it centers, very heavily around, the neutral objectives. So the things that actually, win you the game at the moment is generally it's, Baron, third or fourth Dragon, and Attica. Ultimately, those are the big win conditions for winning the game, and pretty much everything can be, traced back to that. So, for example, if you lose the Attica fight, right, it could be your Attica fight execution, but it just as easily could be, how well you laned before Attica, right? If you lane better, you will be stronger when Attica's up. Can we please die this guy? Or another one might be, if you don't play the side lane and you, end up losing a lot of gold, nice, well played, then you're going to have, again, a much harder time actually fighting the Attica. So that kind of brings me to my next point, which is that, it's a lot easier to, make the game really difficult for yourself and, overcomplicate it and stuff if you're playing either a champion or, a game plan that's difficult. So, one thing that I am a big believer of in solo queue is that ease of execution is key. And normally when you say ease of execution, people immediately think, mechanical simplicity, right? They're thinking things like Malzahar. They're thinking things like, I don't know, what's a melee example? Diana or something, right? Maybe Diana's not a good example, because, Diana's, I mean, you'll see. Diana kind of fits my argument. But basically, when I think of ease of execution, mechanical ease of execution is part of it, right? That is definitely a non... well, I don't know what the word is, but, it matters. Mechanical execution or mechanical simplicity does matter. But I actually say what is, far more important, especially these days, with the way League of Legends has become, is, kind of, game plan simplicity. So I'll give you some examples of champs that, have that and champs that don't. So a champion that, has relatively easy mechanics, but, a difficult game plan would be something like Corki, or maybe even Smolder, right? Both of these champs are relatively simple mechanically. They have straightforward abilities. Obviously, they just auto-attack a lot. Both of them have, tools in order to get away from, ganks or whatever. Right, Smolder has a Z, Corki has a W. So there's a lot of, ways, I guess, mechanically, to make sure that, you don't get fucked too hard. But the problem with both these champs is that in Corki's case, Corki does not scale particularly well. So, as Corki, you need to make sure that you have some sort of lead. And, I think that, getting a lead as Corki is not actually that easy. The champion is strong early, but there's kind of, there's some... What's the word? There's, some asterisks on that. Corki is quite strong 1v1, but, he does struggle into mages that he can't easily W forward on. And, his skirmishing is quite good, but he lacks CC, so, it's not as easy to just, make a pick or something. So, successfully executing an early game as Corki, you're gonna need to, play really well fundamentally. In other words, Corki is quite a good champ if you're good at mid lane, not necessarily if you're, that good at Corki. You know what I'm saying? You just... I would say if you're not, a Master Plus mid laner, you probably shouldn't play Corki, even though the champion's, not that hard. Are we just gonna retype this guy the same way as before? Oh my god. And Smolder, so like Smolder is kind of the same, right? Like Smolder is, admittedly, I'd say the game plan's like a little easier because in Smolder's case, like at least you scale, right? Like Smolder's quite good in the 5v5, but the thing is that like Smolder, his main strength is acceleration, you know? You really need to make sure that you accelerate, like you need to be ahead CS, you need to be up levels and stuff as Smolder, and that's pretty difficult, right? Like you need to know which fights to give up, you need to know when to side lane, you need to like be very careful not to die. Like if you die once in Smolder, it's immensely punishing. So these are champions with simple mechanical execution, but their game plan is like very, very difficult. And I can give you examples kind of the opposite. So what would be... Actually, I'll give you something in between. So, like, a really good champ right now, and something that you probably saw really high up on my tier list is something like Syndra. So the thing is, like, Syndra, mechanically, is not that simple. Like, yeah, Syndra has a lot of mechanical difficulties to her. Pretty much every Syndra I've ever coached has, like, big issues when it comes to their combos and stuff. But the nice thing about Syndra is that, like, she has a really, really easy game plan. Like, Syndra scales, which is great. Syndra is also good at basically every stage of the game, right? She has good laning, she has good skirmishing, like, she's very, very well-rounded. And it's pretty easy to just, like, kind of group up 5v5 and, you know, force fights, because, like, yeah, you're just a really, really good fighter. You're not, like, forced into some kind of advanced win condition, like, for example, a champ like Yon needing to build, like, a 1v1 lead and then, like, focus heavily on split pushing until you have, like, your shield bow, right? Like, some very nuanced game plan like that isn't really required, because you can just spam group as Syndra, which is really nice. Obviously, like, you need to side lane and stuff at some point, right? I'm not saying you should just, like, ignore the goal, but again, the point is that it's just, like, it's much easier to play something like that than a game plan that, like, requires, you know, like, a lot of finesse, I suppose, or, like, you know, some very specific conditions to work. So that's probably, like, my overall... That's, like, my first tip, is I would really recommend playing a champion that has a combination of ideally both mechanical and game plan execution. And like I said, at the moment, the game is very, very heavily focused around those key objectives. So, like, the best champions right now, and you saw this on my tier list, are champions that are exceptionally strong in the 5v5 and scale well, because that is, like, absolutely the easiest win condition to play. What the fuck is this guy doing? What is that? Is this Challenger? Yeah, that's absolutely, like, the easiest win condition to play, by far. I guess I can cue that? I think she's dead. Maybe kill this guy? So, yeah, like, scaling mages are one, but it's not just mages, right? Like, there are definitely some, like, assassins and stuff that, like, scale kind of well. Like, I think Zed's a good example of that. There are also some that, like, aren't so easy, right? Like, a champ like Yasuo, I think, is, like, kind of the opposite. Like, Yasuo is both difficult mechanically and also has a pretty advanced game plan, because, like, as Yasuo, you're going to need to make sure that you, you know, like, really execute on your side lane and stuff. In order to team fight, because, like, you're gonna have to create, like, a numbers advantage, since, like, Yasuo can't, like, fight in a 5v5 evenly. And this isn't just a thing for mid lane, by the way. Like, I'm talking about other roles here as well. You know, my mid lane examples I've given, but examples of other roles would be something like, you know, as support, like, really strong AoE 5v5 champs, whether that's, like, for range supports, that could be, like, Sona Seraphine, Karma, you know, stuff like that. Or for melee supports, it could be, like, Leona Rel. If you compare these to, say, like, Blitzcrank or Pyke, you know, it's like, don't get me wrong, like, in the right situations, these champs can be good, but it's a hell of a lot harder. And it's just so much easier to, like, come 5v5. If you want examples for other roles, I think, for AD carry, I think, like, scaling crit ADCs are really good. You know, things like Jinx against Smolder, just, like, really consistent AoE crit scaling. For jungle, what would I say? I mean, like, the AD fighters are quite good. Honestly, jungle has, like, so many options. Like, the AD fighters are very good at skirmishing and team fighting. Also, like, scaling AP like Zyra, I think, is very good too. And top lane, yeah, like, bruisers are tanks. I think pure split pushers are kind of weaker at the moment. But yeah, like, bruisers are tanks goes well. So yeah, that's kind of, like, the whole ease of execution thing over. So next I want to talk a bit more about, like, the whole win conditions thing. So, you know, like, nowadays, split pushing is much less of, like, a viable win condition. You know, it's not like split pushing is useless. In fact, like, side laning is really valuable, but side laning is mostly used to generate, you know, like, CS leads and numbers advantages and stuff. It's pretty rare that you're actually going to knock down a whole bunch of, like, turrets or whatever in the side lane. Like, that just doesn't happen as often now, because, like, there's so many objectives that need to be contested. I can't remember I said it at the start of this video, but the reason the game is so objective-focused at the moment is because Soul, like, Dragon Soul as a win condition, can come online very, very early. So that's one of them. The second thing is that Atacon is, like, almost Soul levels of power, despite being, like, very easy to get. And obviously, like, very easy to do as well. Like, it's easy to get in the sense that it's very easy to control the pit, and you don't need to, like, stack Atacons in the same way that you need to stack Dragons. It just, like, comes online extremely early. And, yeah, it's incredibly powerful. Like, I believe, and, like, maybe this is a hot take, but I believe in solo queue that Atacon is stronger than Baron. I really do. And it's mainly because it's a permanent buff, and, like, you can't really fuck it up, right? I guess you can start Atacon at the wrong time, but... like, you know, if you get Baron and someone, like, misplays the Baron, that's your Baron pretty much over, right? Like, if someone gets caught, now you've got to wait, like, 45 seconds for them to spawn, and then, like, another 30 seconds for them to get set up. That is basically the Baron gone. But, like, that doesn't really exist with Atacon. You just get a huge amount of stats, and it's permanent, and you get the crazy buff. So, yeah, again, it kind of comes back to, like, the team fighting win condition being extremely, extremely strong, and... if you can win lane and scale, I think that's, like, really valuable. But if you had to choose one, I would actually just choose the scaling. And that's because, like, well, not like super scaling. Basically, like, scaling at kind of the 18 to 25 minute mark, that's really good. Like, I think 2 item scaling is very good. I don't think you want to play, like, you know, something that's going to be useless for the entire game until you finally spike later. Because chances are you've, like, given too much up by this point, right? But yeah, that's all stuff I've kind of talked about in my tier list. Another thing I kind of, like, want to talk about, it kind of all, like, ties together, but is just, like, overcomplicating the game. So I kind of said before that, like, League is a game that people tend to, like, really overcomplicate. And, it is definitely true. Do I flash W there? No. It's definitely true that this game is, like, really hard to play. And in some ways, I think the simplicity actually makes it harder. Because, like, if something is really complicated, it's almost like there are more things to learn, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that well, but, you know, like, okay, like, let's take Annie as an example, like, or actually, no, let's take Malzahar. Like, something like Malzahar is, like, really simple, but funnily enough, the difference between, like, a Challenger Mouse player and, like, a normal Mouse player is actually pretty significant, because getting that, like, getting those inches out of the, you know, out of, like, the limited options you have is actually pretty difficult, and I think League is kind of the same. So, I'll give you examples, I guess, of, like, where people go wrong. So, number one would be that League is a game played in between waves, right? Like, most of the time before you do something, you need to kill the wave, and then you do something, right? Sometimes you'll give up the waves in order to make plays or whatever, but ultimately, like, if you have gold, which will normally come from the waves, you'll be strong for the team fights, and, like, the team fights win you the game. Like, if you were to really distill the game down, it would be something like, okay, like, you lane in order to, like, get strong, and then, like, you pretty much just team fight and you win the game. Now, again, obviously that's, like, a mega oversimplification, right? But I think you can kind of use that sort of framework as, like, trying to figure out where something goes wrong. So, like, for example, if you have, like, a really good laning phase, like, let's say this game, right? This game, my laning phase went really well. If I were to lose this game now, I'd probably look more towards my mid game. Like, was I still securing income in the side lane? Was I still, you know, getting farm? Did I play the team fights correctly? All those sort of stuff. And that kind of helps you track down what the most important thing for you to work on is. And if you guys remember my video from a while ago, the video I made on the one where I coached the Iron 4 player, he actually played a pretty good game, but he made, like, one big mistake, which was he died, like, he used his ult, I think, on Akali 30 seconds before 3rd dragon, and then he lost 3rd dragon, and, like, later on the enemy team got soul. You know, that's, like, a game where you need to look back at that and be like, okay, well, you know, somehow I need to make sure I don't die 30 seconds before soul. So, I guess, like, when I see people overcomplicating the game in coaching, what that normally looks like is stuff like, they'll say, oh, I don't know what to do when my teammates are doing this, or, you know, like, I feel like if I go side lane, like, my teammates just die or whatever, and it's like, ultimately, you can't do everything at once. Like, anything that you do in League, even if it's the right thing, by the way, anything that you do in League will have a cost. For example, me coming mid, I think is the correct play here. But there is a cost, which is that, like, I lose pressure on Ori in the side lane, right? Like, that is a decision that I have made. And the thing is, if you can shove the wave before you make the play, chances are the play is not so bad, right? Like, there, it's tough to say, is it better to kill Xayah or pressure Ori? I think it's probably better to kill Xayah, but, like, if you pressure Ori there, it's probably fine. But ultimately, the only thing that would be bad there is if I let Ori shove the wave into me and then I roam mid, or if like I was just sitting bot not pressuring Ori. Do you kind of see what I mean? It's like sometimes there will be multiple decisions, and you know the decision might not exactly be clear, but as long as like you're still securing income, it's probably fine, right? And as long as you're at all the key objectives, again, it's probably fine. Like one thing you have probably noticed, and again, something that like comes up in team fights or sorry, in coaching sessions all the time, is like I get a lot of people saying like, again, it feels like my team is just like fighting all the time, and like I've just got to be there. And the reality is you don't. You only really need to be there for Atacon, Baron, and then like normally 3rd and 4th dragon, sometimes 2nd. Like this game, I'll probably fight 2nd dragon because it's kind of late in the game. But like I could give this dragon if I wanted to. And like if you don't need to be part of fights that kind of happen outside of those, because like if the fight doesn't lead to some major objective, chances are it's just not really that important, right? Which is kind of what happens here. Like now that dragon is spawning in 45 seconds, I'm definitely thinking about TPing the bot side if there is some sort of fight. But at the same time, if I decide not to TP, as long as I'm securing income top, that's like not really that bad, you know? Like at least I'm doing something. Oh, this might be interesting. I think I'm fine. I think you guys are just both dead. Oh. Oh, it's just sad, man. Unlucky. Okay. I mean, they're just, I don't know, I got kind of dragged down to my train of thought. It's probably a bit greedy to play topside when my jungler's bot, but I was so strong I could get away with it. So yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, back to overcomplicating the game and like the objectives and stuff. Like everything comes back to this, right? Like making sure that like you have high gold and you're not dying and you're at all the key fights. And again, when you guys are like reviewing your own games, you just need to work backwards. Like you can work back from deaths, you can work back from like why you weren't at a team fight, or if you did lose a team fight, like go back and look at like why you might have lost it. Like common ones being maybe you didn't spend your money, or you were there too late, or you could have misplayed it like in terms of target priority and stuff. But there should be kind of some clues telling you like where to look, you know what I mean? And then like you can kind of go from there. Like you can look up videos that kind of what's the word? You can look up videos that help you fix that problem. For example, if you identify that like you have an issue like getting income in mid-game, maybe that means your side laning is bad, and then you can go to YouTube and you can watch Shok's side laning guide. Would you look at that? Yeah, something like that. I might get ganked here. Yeah, just gonna walk away. But, yeah, it comes with practice, right? And I'll be honest, I'm kind of running out of things to say because I didn't think I had 18 minutes of content here. But yeah, it's not something you're going to get good at instantly, but, like, I think overall, I guess, like, the point I'm trying to make is that ease of execution is extremely important. I strongly recommend playing champions that scale well and are strong in 5v5s. In terms of, like, the game plan, most of the time, you should just farm before making the play. You know, like, you can split hairs about, like, oh, is it better to drop the wave here or not? But, like, ultimately, the safe play is pretty much always shove the wave before moving. And, like, yes, you will lose some games by not moving, but you're gonna win a lot more games by just being, like, super fucking fed. You know, like this game. I'm level 15. And the enemy jungler is level 11, you know? And that's just because, like, I am insanely, insanely strong. I think this is kind of good. I'm just gonna have a look at this fight. Yeah, this looks free. Okay, super dead. Got a kite out of here, but okay, nice. Ooh, she died. Yeah, so like ultimately, like we should win this game off Atacon, right? Like kind of what I'm thinking now is that like we haven't actually secured anything that should win us the game yet. You know, like we haven't secured Atacon and we haven't secured 3rd dragon, but I'm so strong that I should be able to make this Atacon fight like into our favor. You know, I should be able to win this so hard that the enemy team like kind of contests, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to reset the bot side. I'm going to set this up and then I'm going to get this and it's going to be GG. I really hope they do something about Atacon. So I'm kind of going off the rails a bit here, but I really hope they do something about Atacon. I think this buff is like insanely broken and like really unfun for the game. Like the Atacon monster is very, very cool, but the Atacon buff is insanely cringe. I'm a huge hater. By the way, if you're wondering, the reason I went Bloodletter here is because like we have triple AP, and I knew Yi would build Meta Resist. So I felt like I kind of had to. So yeah, let's secure this Atacon. Once we get this, it should be more or less game over. I don't know, what other things would I have to say for why you guys can't climb? I guess another one would be, like, I think a lot of you overthink champion pool. Like, I get so many questions about, like, what the perfect champion pool is, you know? And, like, the reality is there are a lot of different ways to create, like, a good champion pool. But, again, it's kind of the same thing where, like, you know, you could worry about having the, like, literal perfect champion pool. But for most people, as long as you're playing, like, some comfort champs, and the champs are, like I said, ideally strong in terms of, you know, ease of execution. So I guess, like, they're just easy. You know, you'll have a really good time. You'll have a really good time. I don't think you need to worry about having, like, literal picturesque champion pool. Funnily enough, like, I get that more than any other question these days. Is like, you know, what should I pair with these other champions? And, like, straight up, guys, like, just pick some champs you like the look of, and obviously, if you want input from me, like, you can go look at my tier list, but it really doesn't matter that much, you know? Like, it matters, I guess, in the same way that everything else matters. Like, everything adds up, you know? But, it's just one of the many things in League that matters. I'm trying to think, what else? What else have I been seeing in coaching sessions lately? Oh, actually, another one would be, like, ease of execution when it comes to itemization. So this is a pretty interesting one. And a good example of this is something like Roas Seraphs. So, like, okay, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but, like, Roas Seraphs on mages is, like, pretty common these days, right? And there's, like, a variety of reasons for that. Like, Catalyst makes your laning phase extremely strong, and it's, like, very, very hard to lane against someone that has Catalyst when you don't. There's that, but also, like, it is just a lot easier to play tankier builds, right? Because you are allowed to make some mistakes and get away with it, right? And you can see this with classes too, like, you know, like, it's pretty much, like, undeniable that it's, like, way easier to play, like, a tank or a bruiser compared to some, like, squishy mage or whatever. Bro, that can't just fucking stole my blue. Oh, it pissed me off. And actually, another role that I think suffers from this a lot is AD carry. So the thing with ADC is that, like, I think AD carry is incredibly broken. I really do. But the thing is that, like, marksmen are the hardest class in the game. I don't even think it's particularly close. Like, I'd say the closest thing would be, like, a mobile mages, but honestly, I think marksmen are in their own world when it comes to difficulty. And the reason is, it's like, you know, most of these champs offer no utility. They're completely useless from behind. If you misplay once, you just die. If you fall behind, like, you'll struggle to keep getting income. And, like, yeah, you offer nothing from behind, so you just end up being completely useless. You know, like, if you fall behind as, like, a mage or whatever, like, you can still provide some utility. And, like, if you fall behind as, say, like, a bruiser, you know, you don't instantly die. Obviously, like, your impact is less, but it's not, you know, you just, like, instantly explode the moment, you know, like, you misplay or whatever. So, mages bot, I think, are really, really OP, especially, like, below Challenger, because, like, straight up, they're just, like, a lot easier, right? Like, if you have, let's say, a lane where, like, one side is playing, I don't know, Mel or something, and the other side's playing Draven, it's like, you know, if these players are evenly skilled, the Mel should just win, because not only is the matchup good, but it's just 10 times easier to play the Mel. That's kind of what I think. So, yeah. Hold on, let me take this fight real quick. These guys should just be dead. Oh, wow, that's a crazy start. What the hell? Damn. I think we just end, maybe. It'd be good if we could end, because I'm running out of material. Can we just end? Yeah, nice. Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of TLDR the video once again. Overall, I think the main reason why you guys can't climb is, like, you just make the game way too hard for yourselves. Pretty much, like, if you guys just farm well, don't die, pick champs that scale well in 5v5, like, the game's gonna be so much easier, and I can't tell you how many times I've been, like, watching coaching sessions, and someone is just, like, in the most unplayable game ever, you know what I mean? Like, they're just playing some sort of champ that, like, really, you know, has, like, some super advanced win condition. Like, I'll be coaching, like, a Yasuo or something, and, like, he'll make the mistake of fighting just slightly before he completes Shield Bow, and the reason he doesn't have Shield Bow is just because he, like, slightly misplayed an early fight, and it's like, it doesn't need to be so hard, you know? The game can be so much easier than that. It really can. So, yeah, I think that's, like, pretty much it, guys. That's really all I wanted to say. Who do I give my honors to? I think I'll give my honor to, no, I give my honor to Riven. He glazed me at the start. And I'll also give an honor to Zyrex. That guy played pretty well. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think. I think if I did this again, I would probably format it a little better. Like, I think I'd probably have more things to talk about because I realized that I kind of ran out of steam. But hopefully it was still enjoyable for you guys. Let me know what you think. And if you like it, I'll make more videos like this in future. So thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next one.